The silent planet, the Galactic Council had been watching Earth for over 300 years. Every civilized world in the galaxy knew about the small blue planet in the outer rim of the Milky Way. It was perfect for life, with vast oceans, green lands, and a stable sun. But the humans who lived there had one strange habit that puzzled everyone. They completely ignored the galaxy. Ambassador Zix-9 from the Centauri Federation floated in his liquid chamber, staring at the latest report about Earth. His tentacles moved nervously through the blue fluid that kept him alive. Still nothing. He asked his assistant, a small purple creature with 6 eyes. Nothing, sir. We sent another message 3 days ago. Same as always. Complete silence. For 3 centuries, the galaxy had been trying to contact Earth. They sent radio signals, light beams, and even physical probes. Every advanced species in the galaxy had tried. The wise Etherians with their mind powers, the technological mechanoids with their supercomputers, the peaceful Vedani with their plant-based ships. All of them had the same result. Humans acted like the galaxy didn't exist. It makes no sense, Zix-9 bubbled through his translator. Every scan shows they have the technology to detect our signals. Their satellites pick up our messages. Their telescopes can see our ships, but they never respond. The assistant's 6 eyes blinked in different patterns. Maybe they're afraid. Afraid? Zix-9 laughed, sending ripples through his chamber. The humans, have you seen their entertainment broadcasts? These creatures make stories about fighting aliens, conquering space, and saving the universe. They dream about meeting us every day. This was true. The galaxy had been receiving human TV shows, movies, and internet content for decades. Humans seemed obsessed with aliens and space travel. They made countless stories about meeting other species, joining galactic communities, and exploring the stars. Yet when the real galaxy tried to talk to them, they stayed completely quiet. The mystery had become famous across all known worlds. Scientists wrote papers about it. Philosophers debated its meaning. Some species even started betting on when humans would finally answer. Sir, the assistant said, pointing at the main screen with 2 of his arms. There's something different in today's Earth monitoring report. Zix-9 turned his attention to the display. For the first time in 300 years, something had changed. Human internet activity had exploded overnight. Not with their usual entertainment or social media, but with something else entirely. Stories. Thousands and thousands of new stories. But these weren't normal human stories. Every single one was about the same thing. Humans meeting aliens and showing them what humanity could really do. Stories about human soldiers impressing alien warriors. Stories about human engineers fixing impossible alien technology. Stories about human explorers venturing into dangerous alien territories that no other species dared to enter. The stories all had one thing in common. In every single one, humans were special. They were stronger, braver, more creative, or more determined than any alien species. They called these stories HFY, humanity for. Yeah, this is unprecedented, Zix-9 whispered. They've never produced this much content at once. And it's all about us, the assistant's eyes widened. Do you think they know we've been watching them? Before Zix-9 could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the Galactic Council station. Emergency lights flashed red as the main communication system activated. Attention all council members, the automated voice announced. We are receiving a transmission from Earth. This is not a drill. Repeat, Earth is attempting to make contact. Zix-9's tentacles went rigid with shock. After 300 years of silence, the humans were finally ready to talk. The main council chamber filled quickly as representatives from dozens of species rushed to their seats. The massive holographic display in the center of the room flickered to life, showing the incoming transmission details. It's definitely from Earth, announced Chief Science Officer Krell, a tall insectoid with golden wings. The signal is coming from multiple locations on their planet. This isn't just one human, this is coordinated. Can you play the message? Asked Council Leader Vorth, whose crystalline form sparkled under the chamber lights. Playing now, Krell replied. The chamber fell silent as the first human voice in 3 centuries filled the air. It was calm, confident, and spoke perfect universal standard, the common language used by all galactic civilizations. Greetings, Galactic Council. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen, speaking on behalf of Earth's United Space Command. We know you've been trying to contact us for a long time. We appreciate your patience, but we weren't ready to answer until now. Gasps and whispers filled the chamber. How did they know about the Galactic Council? How did they speak Universal Standard? The human woman continued. We've been watching you too, learning your languages, studying your cultures, understanding your technologies. We wanted to make sure we were ready to join the galactic community as equals, not as junior partners who needed help with everything. Zix-9 felt his fluid chamber temperature rise. The humans had been watching them. How? We know this might come as a surprise, Dr. Chen said. And there was something in her voice that sounded almost amused. But humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. We've been speaking very softly for 300 years. Now we're ready to show you our stick. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Did she just threaten us? Asked a small, furry delegate from the Omega sector. Before anyone could answer, every screen in the chamber lit up with new data. Ships were launching from Earth, not one or two, but hundreds of them. Sleek, powerful vessels that registered on sensors like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. And they were all heading directly for the Galactic Council station. The fleet arrives. Admiral Marcus Steele stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the Galactic Council station grow larger on the main screen. Behind him, 999 other human ships moved in perfect formation through space. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human engineering, built in secret over the past 50 years. Admiral, called Lieutenant Kim from the communication station, we're receiving over 3,000 hail attempts from different alien species. They all want to talk, Steele smiled grimly. I bet they do. Put me through to the council station only. Time to make our entrance. The bridge crew worked efficiently around him. No panic, no excitement, just professional focus. Steele was proud of them. Every human on this fleet had trained their entire lives for this moment. Channel open, sir. This is Admiral Marcus Steele of the United Earth Space Command, requesting permission to dock our diplomatic vessel at your station. The rest of our fleet will maintain position at a respectful distance. The response came immediately, and Steele could hear the nervousness in the alien translator's voice. Admiral Steele, this is Council Leader Vorth. Permission granted. We had no idea Earth possessed such a large fleet. There's a lot you don't know about Earth, Council Leader. We look forward to changing that. As the Defiance approached the docking bay, Steele watched dozens of alien ships scrambling to get out of their way. Some were elegant and graceful, others looked like flying crystals or living creatures. All of them seemed tiny compared to human vessels. They're scared, observed Commander Lisa Park, Steele's second-in-command. Good, Steele replied. Fear breeds respect, and we're going to need their respect for what comes next. The docking procedure went smoothly, despite the obvious shock of the alien dock workers. Steele had seen the intelligence reports about other species' technology. Most of their ships were hundreds of years old, passed down through generations with only minor improvements. The aliens had become comfortable, settled into a peaceful routine. Humans, on the other hand, had spent 3 centuries preparing for war. Steele led a small diplomatic team through the station's corridors. The aliens they passed stopped and stared. Some whispered in their native languages. Others quickly moved out of the way. The council chamber was impressive, a massive dome filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Steele counted over 60 different species, from tiny insect-like creatures to massive beings that looked like living mountains. Council leader Vorth approached them. Up close, Steele could see that the crystalline being was actually quite beautiful, with internal lights that shifted colors as it moved. Admiral Steele, Vorth said, its voice creating harmonic tones that the translators struggled to convert. Welcome to the Galactic Council. We have so many questions. I'm sure you do, Steele replied. But first, let me ask you one. In all your communications with Earth, did you ever wonder why we never responded? The chamber fell silent. Every alien representative leaned forward to hear the answer. We assumed you were developing, not ready for galactic contact, Vorth said carefully. Steele nodded. That's what we wanted you to think. The truth is, we've been ready for a long time. We just weren't sure if the galaxy was ready for us. A tall, insect-like being with golden wings stepped forward. "I am Chief Science Officer Krell." "What do you mean by that?" Steele gestured to one of his team members, Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading xenobiologist. She activated a portable holographic display that showed images from across human history. "Every species we've observed in your records joined the galactic community when they achieved faster-than-light travel," Dr. Vasquez explained. "They were welcomed, given technology, guided into peaceful coexistence." "It's a beautiful system," the aliens nodded proudly. This was their greatest achievement, a galaxy at peace. "But here's the thing," Dr. Vasquez continued. "Humans developed differently. We didn't have gentle neighbors to guide us. We had to figure everything out ourselves, through trial and error, through conflict." The hologram showed images of human wars, but also human achievements. Cities built from nothing, diseases conquered, disasters overcome. "We learned that the universe is dangerous," Steele said, taking over the presentation. "And we learned that sometimes you have to fight to protect what matters." A new voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. "Are you threatening us?" It was Ambassador Zix-9, his tentacles moving aggressively through his liquid chamber. Steele turned to face him directly. "No, Ambassador. We're offering to protect you." Confused murmurs filled the chamber. "Protect them from what?" "You see," Steele continued, "while you've been building your peaceful civilization, we've been watching the dark spaces between stars. We've seen what's coming." The holographic display changed, showing long-range sensor data that made several aliens gasp in recognition. "The Devourers," whispered Council Leader Vorth. Steele nodded grimly. "Your ancient enemy. The species that consumed 3 entire sectors before you managed to drive them away 2,000 years ago. They're coming back." The chamber erupted in panicked voices. The Devourers were a nightmare from galactic history, a hive-minded species that consumed entire worlds, leaving nothing but empty space behind. "Our deep space monitoring stations detected their scout ship 6 months ago," Dr. Vasquez explained. "They're still years away, but they're definitely heading for this galaxy." "How do you know about the Devourers?" demanded Krell. "That information is classified at the highest levels." Steele smiled, but there was no humor in it. "We told you. We've been watching you. We know about your classified files, your hidden archives, your secret weapons research. We know you've been trying to develop defenses against the Devourer's return for centuries." He paused, letting that sink in. "We also know you've failed. Every simulation, every weapons test, every battle plan, none of them work. You can't stop what's coming with the technology and mindset you have." "And you can?" challenged a furry delegate from the corner. "We can," Steele said with absolute confidence, "because we've spent 300 years preparing for exactly this kind of war. While you built a peaceful civilization, we built the most advanced military force in the galaxy." The holographic display showed technical specifications for human weapons and ships. The numbers made several aliens step backward in shock. "But we're not here to conquer you," Steele assured them. "We're here to save you, all of you." He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as possible. "The Devourers will be here in 3 years. You can spend that time debating and forming committees and trying diplomatic solutions that won't work. Or you can accept our help and give this galaxy a fighting chance." The chamber fell silent again. Steele could see the fear in their alien faces, but also something else. Hope. "What exactly are you proposing?" asked Council Leader Vorth. Steele's smile was sharp as a blade. "We're proposing to teach you how humans really fight." The Human Way 3. Weeks after first contact, the galaxy was already changing. The peaceful Galactic Council station had been transformed into a military command center, with human advisors working alongside alien species who had never seen war in their lifetimes. Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the station's corridors, observing the controlled chaos around her. Etherian telepaths were learning to coordinate with human tactical computers. Mechanoid engineers were upgrading their ancient ships with human weapon systems. Vidani plant beings were growing new types of armor using modified human designs. "It's remarkable," said her companion, a tall Etherian named Thought Speaker Zen. Unlike other Etherians, who communicated primarily through telepathy, Zen had learned to speak aloud for the benefit of humans. In 3 weeks, you've accomplished more military advancement than we managed in 3 centuries. Sarah nodded, but her expression was troubled. That's exactly the problem. You've been peaceful for so long that you've forgotten how to fight. When the Devourers come, they won't give you time to remember. They entered the main training facility, where the most ambitious part of the human plan was taking place. Representatives from every major species were learning human combat tactics. But this wasn't just about weapons and ships. Combat is 10% technology and 90% mindset, explained Sergeant Major Rodriguez to a group of mixed aliens. He was a veteran of Earth's last major conflict, a man who understood that winning wars required more than superior firepower. Your species think logically, he continued, pointing to a group of crystalline beings. You calculate odds, analyze probabilities, make the safest choice. That works great for building civilizations. He moved to another group, this one containing insectoids. Your species work in perfect harmony. You never argue, never disagree, always move as one unit. That's beautiful for maintaining peace. Then he faced them all. But the Devourers don't think logically. They don't maintain harmony. They're pure aggression, pure hunger, pure destruction. To beat them, you need to think like them. A small, furry alien raised its paw. How do we think like destroyers when we are builders? Rodriguez smiled grimly. That's where humans come in. You see, we're both. He activated a holographic display showing human history. But instead of the usual progression of civilization, this showed something else entirely. Every human culture has stories about heroes who face impossible odds, Rodriguez explained. Warriors who fight against darkness, soldiers who never surrender, explorers who venture into the unknown. The display showed hundreds of examples. Ancient warriors standing against massive armies, modern soldiers storming impossible fortifications, everyday people doing extraordinary things when pushed to their limits. We call them HFY stories now, Humanity F. Yeah, but they're not just entertainment. They're training manuals. The aliens looked confused, so Rodriguez continued. Every human child grows up hearing these stories. They learn that sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to take risks. Sometimes you have to do the impossible because the alternative is unacceptable. He pointed to specific images. David and Goliath, the Battle of Thermopylae, the charge of the Light Brigade, D-Day, the Apollo missions. Every story teaches the same lesson. Humans don't accept defeat. A tall mechanoid spoke up, its electronic voice precise. Statistical analysis suggests most of these actions were tactically unsound. The probability of success was minimal. Exactly, Rodriguez said, grinning. That's what makes them human. We don't fight based on probability. We fight based on necessity. Dr. Chen watched the aliens struggle to understand this concept. It went against everything they'd learned about rational decision-making. Let me give you an example, she said, stepping forward. 300 years ago, when your people first tried to contact Earth, we were in the middle of something called World War III. The aliens had heard about this conflict from human historical broadcasts. It was one of the bloodiest wars in human history. The war was started by a group that believed only the strongest humans deserved to survive. They had better weapons, better technology, more resources. By all logical calculations, they should have won. Sarah activated another display, showing battle maps from the conflict. But they lost. They lost because they underestimated what humans will do when their families are threatened. They underestimated what humans will sacrifice to protect the weak. She showed footage of human soldiers holding impossible positions, civilians refusing to surrender despite overwhelming odds, scientists working around the clock to develop new weapons. The winning side had a motto, not one step back. It didn't matter how hopeless the situation looked. It didn't matter how many enemies they faced. They would not retreat, they would not surrender, and they would not let evil win. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the Etherian telepaths had stopped their mental chatter. That's what we learned during those 3 centuries of silence, Sarah continued. We learned that the galaxy is beautiful and peaceful and everything we could ever want. But we also learned that beauty and peace only exist because someone is willing to fight for them. Admiral Steele entered the chamber at that moment. Fresh from a strategy meeting with the council leaders, "How's the training going?" he asked Rodriguez. "They're learning, sir. Slowly, but they're learning." Steele nodded, then addressed the alien trainees directly. "I know this is hard for you. Everything we're teaching goes against your nature. Your species evolved to cooperate, to build, to create. Fighting feels wrong." Several aliens nodded agreement. "But here's what you need to understand," Steele continued. "The Devourers aren't evil because they choose to be. They're evil because they can't be anything else. They consume because it's their nature. They destroy because it's what they were born to do." He walked among the aliens as he spoke, making sure each one could see his face. "Your peaceful nature is a choice. You could be aggressive if you wanted to be. You could be violent if you needed to be. The fact that you choose peace instead makes that peace precious." Steele stopped in front of the Verdani representative, a being that looked like a walking tree. The Devourers don't have that choice. They can't decide to be peaceful. They can't choose to build instead of destroy. That's why they have to be stopped. The Verdani's leaves rustled thoughtfully. "How do we become warriors without losing what makes us who we are?" Steele's expression softened slightly. "You don't become warriors. You become protectors. There's a difference." He gestured to the humans in the room. "Every person here volunteered for this mission. They left behind families, careers, comfortable lives on Earth. They're not here because they love war. They're here because they love peace enough to fight for it." The aliens were beginning to understand. This wasn't about becoming more violent or aggressive. It was about being willing to use violence and aggression when necessary to protect something more important. "The Devourers will be here in less than 3 years, Steele announced. "When they arrive, they'll expect to find the same peaceful galaxy they fought before. Instead, they're going to find something they've never encountered." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of every species represented. They're going to find a galaxy that learned how to fight back. The storm approaches 2.5 years had passed since humanity's arrival at the Galactic Council. The galaxy had transformed in ways that would have been unimaginable during the long centuries of peace. Captain Maya Okafor stood on the observation deck of the Combined Fleet's flagship, watching ships from dozens of species conduct joint training exercises. Elegant Etherian vessels moved in perfect harmony with blocky human destroyers. Crystalline Vorthax ships coordinated with organic Verdani cruisers. The sight would have been impossible just 3 years ago. "Magnificent, isn't it?" said Admiral Keth Var, the first non-human to be promoted to fleet command rank under the new integrated military structure. The tall insectoid Solari had proven to be a natural tactician once he learned to think beyond pure logic. "It is," Maya agreed. "But are we ready?" Before Kethvar could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Both officers immediately ran toward the bridge, their training taking over. "Report," Maya called out as they arrived. "Long-range sensors are detecting multiple contacts at the galaxy's edge," announced Lieutenant Torres. "Configuration and energy signatures match archived data on Devourer vessels." The main screen lit up with tactical displays. Hundreds of red dots appeared at the rim of the galaxy, moving in perfect formation toward the core systems. "How long until they reach the first inhabited systems?" Maya asked. 6 months, Captain," Torres replied. "Maybe less if they increase speed." Maya nodded grimly. It was earlier than expected, but not entirely surprising. The Devourers had always been unpredictable in their timing. "Send word to all fleet commanders," she ordered. "Execute Operation Guardian. It's time to see if all our training was worth it." Across the galaxy, the greatest military mobilization in recorded history began. Ships that had been stationed at strategic points for months started moving toward predetermined positions. Soldiers who had trained together despite never sharing a common language prepared for the ultimate test. On the Galactic Council station, now redesigned as the war's command center, leaders from every major species gathered for what might be their final strategy meeting. "The Devourers are moving in 3 main fleets," reported General Harrison, Earth's chief military strategist. "They're targeting the most populated systems first, probably to maximize terror and confusion." Council Leader Vorth's crystalline form flickered with anxious colors. How many ships do they have? Approximately 15,000 vessels of various sizes, Harrison replied. That's 3 times larger than any force they used in previous invasions. Worried murmurs filled the chamber. Even with all their preparations, the combined galactic fleet numbered only 8,000 ships. However, Harrison continued, raising his voice to quiet the crowd, we have several advantages they don't expect. The main display showed tactical projections. First, they're expecting to face the same passive defenses that worked against them 2,000 years ago. Instead, they're going to encounter mobile strike forces using human-designed tactics. Second, added Admiral Steele, they've never fought against a truly integrated force. Every species in our fleet brings unique capabilities that complement each other. Chief Science Officer Krell stepped forward. And third, we have weapons they've never seen before. The display changed to show technical specifications for the new hybrid technologies developed over the past 2 years. Human kinetic weapons powered by mechanoid energy systems, Etherian telepathic guidance networks integrated with Solari computational arrays, Verdani organic armor enhanced with Vorthak crystal matrices. Most importantly, Steele said, we have something the Devourers can't understand or counter, diversity of thought. He gestured to the mixed species around the room. The Devourers are a hive mind. They think as one entity, make decisions as one entity, react as one entity. That makes them predictable. But we, he continued, we're dozens of different species with different ways of thinking, different approaches to problems, different solutions to challenges. When one approach fails, we have 60 others to try. Ambassador Zix-9, who had become one of humanity's strongest supporters, floated forward in his chamber. The question remains, will it be enough? Steele's expression was serious. I don't know. No one knows. But I can tell you this, the Devourers have never fought against humans before. They have no idea what they're walking into. The meeting continued for several hours, finalizing last-minute preparations and contingency plans. As the various representatives dispersed to their ships and stations, Dr. Sarah Chen found herself alone with Admiral Steele in the observation lounge. Nervous? She asked. Steele stared out at the stars, watching the distant flickers of light that marked departing ships. Terrified, he admitted. Not of dying, I've been ready for that since I put on the uniform. But of failing, of letting down every species that trusted us. Sarah joined him at the window. You know what I realized while we were training all those aliens? What's that? They weren't learning to be like humans. They were learning to be the best versions of themselves. Steele looked at her questioningly. The Etherians didn't become aggressive, Sarah explained. They learned to use their telepathy for tactical coordination. The mechanoids didn't become emotional. They learned to factor unpredictable variables into their calculations. The Verdani didn't become violent. They learned to grow weapons that could protect life. She turned to face him directly. We didn't teach them to fight like humans, Marcus. We taught them to fight like themselves. Like the people they needed to become to protect what they loved. Steele nodded slowly. And the Devourers have no idea what that means. Exactly. They're expecting to face the same species they defeated before. Instead, they're going to face something entirely new. The conversation was interrupted by a communication alert. Lieutenant Torres appeared on the nearest screen. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the approaching Devourer fleet. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Steele and Sarah rushed back to the bridge, where the alien message was already being translated. The voice that filled the bridge was inhuman, a mixture of clicking, buzzing, and grinding sounds that the universal translators struggled to convert into understandable words. Peaceful species of this galaxy, the message began. You have been selected for consumption. Do not resist. Resistance will only increase your suffering. Surrender your worlds and your resources, and your end will be swift. The message repeated several times before cutting off. Steele looked around the bridge at his mixed-species crew. Humans stood alongside Solari, Etherians, mechanoids, and others. All of them had the same expression on their faces, determination. Torres, Steele said calmly. Send a response on all frequencies. Make sure the Devourers receive it clearly. Yes, sir. What's the message? Steele's smile was cold as winter. Tell them, this is the United Galactic Defense Force. Your surrender demand has been received and rejected. If you want our worlds, come and take them. He paused for a moment, then added, and tell them one more thing. Tell them they're about to learn why you should never threaten someone's home. As the message was transmitted across space toward the approaching enemy, every being on the bridge felt the same emotion. They were afraid. They were outnumbered. They were facing an enemy that had conquered galaxies, but they were not alone, and they would not surrender. Humanity fell. Yeah, the Battle of Kepler's Gate would be remembered as the moment everything changed. The Devourers had chosen the system as their entry point into the galaxy's core, a strategic location with multiple hyperspace lanes that would allow them to strike at dozens of populated worlds simultaneously. What they found waiting for them was not what they expected. Commander Elena Vasquez watched from the bridge of the UES Prometheus as the first Devourer ships emerged from hyperspace. The enemy vessels were massive, organic-looking things that seemed to pulse with malevolent life. Intelligence reports had been accurate. They looked like flying infections, designed to consume and corrupt everything they touched. "Contact!" called out Ensign Park from the sensor station. 300 Devourer vessels and counting. Still emerging from hyperspace. Allied fleet status? Elena asked. All ships report ready. We have representatives from 12 different species in our task force. Elena nodded, feeling the weight of command. She was leading the first integrated strike force in galactic history. Humans working alongside aliens who had been strangers just 3 years ago. "Open a channel to all ships," she ordered. The faces that appeared on her screen represented the galaxy's greatest hope. Captain Zenthkar of the Solari Cruiser Harmony, Commander Flowing Branch of the Verdani bioship Lifebearer, Captain Crystal Song of the Vorthak destroyer Light Shard, and dozens more, all united by a single purpose. "This is it," Elena told them. "Everything we've trained for comes down to the next few hours. Remember, we're not just fighting for our individual species. We're fighting for the idea that different peoples can work together to protect something beautiful." "The Devourers don't understand cooperation," added Captain Zenthkai, his insectoid features displaying determination. "They cannot comprehend sacrifice for others. That will be their weakness." "And our strength," agreed Commander Flowing Branch, her plant-like form rustling with resolve. Elena smiled, feeling pride swell in her chest. These beings had learned more than just human military tactics. They had learned what it meant to stand together. All ships commence attack pattern Delta 7. Remember, hit fast, hit hard, then fade back. Make them chase us into the outer asteroid field. The combined fleet moved as one, despite being composed of radically different vessel types. Human kinetic weapons opened fire alongside Etherian energy beams. Mechanoid missiles coordinated with Verdani bioweapons. It was chaos to outside observers, but it was controlled chaos. The Devourers, expecting the passive defense strategies they had faced centuries ago, were caught completely off guard. Their ships began taking damage immediately, and more importantly, they couldn't predict what would happen next. "They're trying to adapt," reported Ensign Park. "Enemy ships are changing formation." "Good," Elena replied. "Let them try. Captain Crystal Song, execute maneuver Broken Mirror." The Vorthak ships suddenly shifted their crystal formations, creating a prismatic effect that confused Devourer targeting systems. At the same moment, human ships fired coordinated salvos that had been calculated by mechanoid computers and guided by Etherian telepaths. The results were devastating. Dozens of Devourer vessels exploded or were crippled in the opening minutes of combat. But the enemy was learning too. The hive mind that controlled them began adapting to the new tactics, and more ships kept pouring through the hyperspace gate. "We're getting overwhelmed," warned Captain Zenthkar. "Enemy reinforcements are arriving faster than projected." Elena checked her tactical display. They were indeed outnumbered 3-1 now, and the odds were getting worse by the minute. "Time for Phase 2, she announced. "All ships execute Crazy Ivan. Are you certain?" asked Commander Flowing Branch. "That maneuver has never been tested in actual combat." Elena's grin was pure human audacity. That's what makes it perfect. The Devourers can't adapt to something they've never seen. What happened next would be discussed in military academies for centuries. Instead of retreating or trying to hold defensive positions, the entire combined fleet suddenly scattered in apparently random directions. Each ship began moving in erratic, unpredictable patterns while maintaining coordinated fire. The Devourers had no response for this. Their hive mind was designed to counter logical, predictable tactics. But humans had taught their allies something the galaxy had never learned. Sometimes, the illogical choice is the right choice. "It's working," called out Ensign Park. "Enemy targeting efficiency has dropped by 60%. They can't lock onto us." But Elena knew this was just the beginning. The real test would come when the Devourers deployed their ultimate weapon, the planet-killer ships that had destroyed entire worlds in previous invasions. As if summoned by her thoughts, the hyperspace gate flared with ominous light. A massive vessel began emerging, easily 10 times larger than anything seen so far. "By the ancient stars," whispered Captain Crystalsong. "Is that?" "A Devourer World Eater," Elena confirmed grimly. "Capable of consuming an entire planet in hours." The massive ship began charging its primary weapon, a beam that could crack continents. It was targeting the inhabited world of New Harmony, where billions of civilians waited in terror. "All ships form up for kamikaze run," Elena ordered. "We have to stop that thing before—" "Wait," interrupted a new voice on the communications channel. It was Admiral Steele, broadcasting from the main fleet. "Elena, pull your ships back. We've got this." "Sir, with respect, there's no way the main fleet can reach us in time." "We're not coming to you," Steele replied, and Elena could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "We're already here." The space around the World Eater suddenly filled with human ships. Not the ones that had been in reserve, but entirely new vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. "Stealth technology," Elena breathed in amazement. "You've been here the whole time." "Humans have a saying," Steele's voice crackled over the comm. "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Well, we've been speaking softly for 3 years. Time to show them our stick. What happened next was the most spectacular display of coordinated firepower in galactic history. Hidden human dreadnoughts revealed themselves and opened fire with weapons that had been designed specifically to kill World Eaters. But more than that, every alien species had contributed to the attack. Etherian telepaths coordinated targeting across dozens of ships simultaneously. Mechanoid computers calculated perfect firing solutions in real time. Verdani bioships released swarms of living missiles that adapted to enemy defenses. Vorthak crystal arrays focused energy beams to pinpoint precision. The World Eater, designed to be unstoppable, found itself under assault from weapons it had never encountered. The massive ship's organic armor began to buckle under the coordinated barrage. But the most important part wasn't the technology. It was the spirit behind it. "This is for every world you've consumed," shouted Captain Zenthkar as his ship dove into the attack run. "This is for the children who will never be born if you succeed," added Commander Flowing Branch, her bioship releasing clouds of defensive spores to protect the smaller vessels. "This is for proving that different peoples can stand together," declared Captain Crystalsong, her crystal ship's energy beams carving deep gouges in the World Eater's hull. Elena watched in amazement as the combined fleet worked together with perfect coordination. Each species was fighting in their own way, but they were all fighting for the same thing. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The World Eater's hull cracked, then split open. Internal explosions began tearing the massive ship apart from within. "Target destroyed," reported Ensign Park. "The World Eater is breaking up." Cheers erupted across every ship in the fleet, broadcast in dozens of different languages. But Elena knew the battle wasn't over yet. "Enemy reinforcements still incoming," she warned. "We've hurt them, but they're not giving up." "Then neither do we," Admiral Steele's voice cut through the celebration. "All ships, prepare for the next wave. Time to show these Devourers what happens when you threaten our home." The battle continued for 18 more hours. Wave after wave of devourer ships poured through the hyperspace gate, only to meet the coordinated resistance of the United Galactic Defense Force. Each time the enemy adapted to one tactic, the Allies switched to another. The diversity of approaches that had seemed like weakness turned out to be their greatest strength. As the final devourer ship was destroyed or forced to retreat, Elena found herself staring at a tactical display that showed something unprecedented. Complete victory against an enemy that had been thought unstoppable. "Fleet status report," she called out, exhausted but elated. "Casualties are lighter than projected," reported Ensign Park. "We lost about 15% of our ships, but saved over 90% of the crews thanks to the new evacuation protocols." Elena nodded. Even their losses had been minimized by human-designed safety systems and alien rescue techniques working together. "Admiral Steele," she called over the communication system, "what's our next move?" "Now," Steele replied, "we make sure they never come back." Over the following months, the combined galactic fleet pursued the retreating devourers all the way to the edge of the galaxy. Using human tracking technology and alien sensor networks, they located every hidden base and sleeper ship the enemy had left behind. The final battle took place in the void between galaxies, where the last devourer fleet made its final stand. This time, there was no need for clever tactics or surprising strategies. The United Galactic Defense Force had become something the devourers couldn't comprehend or counter, a truly unified fighting force. When the last enemy ship was destroyed, Admiral Steele broadcast a message to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "Citizens of the galaxy, this is Admiral Marcus Steele of the United Earth Space Command. The devourer threat has been eliminated. Your worlds are safe." He paused, looking around at the bridge filled with beings from a dozen different species. "But more than that, something new has been born today. We are no longer separate species sharing a galaxy. We are one people, united by our commitment to protect each other and the peaceful civilization we've built together." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every world in the galaxy erupted in celebration. Humans were no longer the mysterious species that had ignored galactic contact. They were heroes, teachers, and friends who had shown everyone what was possible when different peoples worked together. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation lounge of the Council Station, watching ships from across the galaxy returning home. But she knew they weren't the same ships that had left. They were crewed by beings who had learned something precious. That cooperation didn't make you weak, it made you strong. "Any regrets about waiting so long to make contact?" asked Ambassador Zix9, floating beside her in his chamber. Sarah smiled. "None at all. We weren't ready before. Neither were you. And now we're ready for whatever comes next." As if to prove her point, the communication system activated with a message from deep space. Another galaxy had detected the battle and was requesting contact with the United Galactic Defense Force. They had heard rumors of a species called humans who had united an entire galaxy against an unstoppable enemy. They wanted to learn how. Sarah's smile widened. "Well, looks like we have some new friends to make." The story of Earth's arrival in galactic society had begun with silence and mystery. It ended with the most powerful words in any language: "How can we help?" Humanity had arrived in the galaxy not as conquerors or supplicants, but as teachers and protectors. They had shown every species that their differences weren't weaknesses to overcome, but strengths to celebrate. And when the next threat came, whatever it might be, the galaxy would be ready. Because they had learned the most important lesson of all, that the best way to say humanity is to help everyone else say it too. The end author's note. This story celebrates the idea that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our fighting ability, but our capacity to bring out the best in others and work together toward common goals. The real HFY moment isn't when humans prove they're superior, but when they help everyone else become heroes too.